Welcome to the Athlete Growth Coach Podcast, Episode 2. I'm joined here with Jack Palmer. Got his start in college at BYU, but now is over at GCU in Arizona. But I have a great relationship with Jack. We go back all the way back to club season. Won a gold medal in a big Florida tournament together where I celebrated a lot, way too late because I didn't know we won. But yeah, so thank you, Jack, for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, right here, we basically just ask common questions that I get with most athletes, most concerns with college, maybe other things with training, and then also like the mental side of the mindset. So we're going to start kind of with the mindset. So what mentality shift have you had that got you to like where you are today? So was it like you started taking ownership or you realized how the game actually worked? What was that shift for you?
Yeah, I definitely think a big thing for me realizing that leadership was so important. Like
Mm,
being a leader on the court, being a leader outside of the court, you can always have an impact on the people around you and kind of you don't even need to step into a leadership role, but just having command over what you do yourself to help out the people around you and yourself was like something really big for me. That was like a
mm,
big mind switch.
gotcha. Well, so what would you say are some fundamental leadership things that like if you get them wrong then it's over with? Like what are some fundamental things that like you have to have as a leader?
I mean, confidence. Confidence. Confidence is key in every situation. People will
Mm.
and I don't know how to put it, but I don't know. I'm a little lost on that one.
Well, I think leadership is such a deep thing. There's so many different aspects to it,
Yeah.
but I completely agree. And like the confidence side is like you have to be a presence. You know what I mean? Like you can't lead kind of barely showing up and not being super loud. You know, it's like you got to have that presence there. So
Yeah.
like I completely agree.
Yes.
So you've now touched two different pretty big colleges. So how would you say that you connected with college coaches and what did you really do to set yourself apart?
Yeah. So one big thing, like I hear a lot of people saying that they're gonna wait for the colleges to come to them. It's kind of like a
Mm,
big ego standpoint of people want to wait. People, you think you're bigger than the colleges and they're going to want to come after you. Even as a top prospect in any situation, you need to go and attack and go after these colleges because that's what's going to show
mm,
them that you truly want it. If you don't show them that you want it, that's just going to make it harder for them to put you on their squad. And you get up to this level and you get up to the highest level and being on two national championship contending teams, everyone here wants it. Nobody here was
mm.
sitting back with a huge ego waiting for their school to email them. They went and just went after it. And that's what got them here in this situation.
Totally. I love that because I think I've heard that a lot too of like, oh, well, I'm going to wait to reach out until I'm allowed to or like something like that. And I was like, you got to find every which way possible. If you can only email them, then email them 100 times, right?
And
Because it's like, I don't know. I think it's pretty sure for girls, it's like, it has to be like some year, right? That you have to talk in person. But it's like, if once you can email and text, go all out with that. What are you going to say?
it's kind of the fact of you just need to find a way to do it. Like, don't just let
Mm,
it come to you. When I say attacking, I had, Kevin Pratt. I had
yeah.
Kevin sending out emails before I could even talk to people. Kevin was
Mm.
networking and you just need to find people to network and if you really want to get it done, you'll find a way to get it done.
For sure. Well, so how would you say? So we were very blessed to have someone like KP of like kind of backing us. But what would you say to those players that don't have like their club doesn't have a college recruiter, like they don't have the people vouching for them? How can they kind of take the ropes on their own?
Yeah. I mean, shoot. I've heard a lot of people I've been dealing with people ever since I transferred. People have been coming to me asking about how to transfer and how to get into the situation where these colleges are kind of talking to you. So
Mhm.
I say it's once again attacking, writing emails. I sent out an email when I hit the portal. And in high school, even, I made it a goal to send an email to a different college every night. I didn't care
Mm,
if it was NAIA. I didn't care if it was D3, D2, D1. Like, you need to get people talking about you, in my opinion.
yes.
Like, you go talk to an NAIA school, they're going to come at your court. UCLA is there, USC's there. Hey, I'm here to watch this guy. Cool. They're going to keep an eye out on you. And,
Mm,
that could really just snowball into a bigger effect of, hey, now this D1 program's after you. You get one D1 offer. They're talking to other D1 coaches. It's all one big network. And I think just like
mm,
make a name for yourself and kind of just like starting small, even if you need to. Like, you don't need to start at the pinnacle. You don't need to start at D1. Like, my first email wasn't to a D1 college. My first email was
yeah.
to a small college out in Washington. Like,
Mm,
and that's what got him talking to other D3 coaches, and those D3 coaches talk to the D2. Like, it's all one big interconnected network where you just need to get your name out. And if you don't get your name out, it's just not going to happen.
totally. I absolutely love that because like it's so cool to see how like we had similar experiences, and like I bet like millions of other players have had the same experience. It's like players don't realize that like all of these coaches talk to each other. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be scared of like starting small and like you see your friend committing to USC on Instagram, but then you're emailing the NAIA school. But it's like you can't be scared to start small. But then it's also that factor too of like, dude, all coaches know other coaches. And so it's like if you can be involved in those conversations, then that's a whole nother level.
Yep.
But I like how it's like that's what players don't know. Like as a player for us, we don't know that until we look back and be like, oh, like all these coaches know each other, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's huge. I love
If I
that.
was able to do it again, like just knowing that network, like networking is the key to getting to the places you want to be. Like,
Mm,
that's kind of just it.
totally. And I've noticed that with a couple players too of like you like maybe I might have been better than them or you might have been better than them, but it's like so many people know them, they have that edge. You know what I mean? Because it's like the more people talk about you, the status is raised in more people's minds. So
Exactly.
that's huge too.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Well, so since you've been at BYU and GCU, what would you say are some of kind of like the standards that you have seen been set by both like high end teams? You know what I mean? Because it's great to see one team, but it's like what standards have carried over from school to school?
Yeah. I think it's kind of being a D1 volleyball player is a full-time job. And I think people
Yeah.
take that lightly. It's just like, I'm going to come
Mm,
in and they're so used to the club experience where they're practicing 2, 3 nights a week. And it's like,
mm,
it's a 5 day a week, 6 day a week thing where you're in the gym 5 hours pretty much almost every day with preparation and kind of doing all that. So it's like, even outside of volleyball, you got to work on your diet. You got to work on extra weightlifting.
mm.
Like, kind of the minimum isn't enough when you get to that level.
Yeah.
Everyone is working to
Mm,
get up a ladder on somebody else. Like, so kind of just like putting in the base work isn't going to work if you want to come and play D1.
mm. I like
But
that. Yeah.
other standards, it's you're going to be up early. Like, expect that. At
Yep.
BYU, we were in the gym at 6:45 Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the preseason every
Yep.
single day. Like, it's gonna suck, but like that's what you signed up for. And I feel like a lot of people just like don't know fully what they're getting themselves into. And it's just
Mm,
like that's the way a lot of players are burning out in the
totally.
kind of D1 circuit, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, customs, it's yeah, full-time job, work happens outside the gym. Like that's where you're gonna get better.
Mm,
Like all the
for
extra
sure.
work you're gonna put in is gonna put you ahead of somebody. If you're doing the same as everybody else, that's not gonna put you ahead of anybody. That's gonna keep you
Mm.
consistent. Yeah. So
Mm, I love
yeah,
that, and I think that's even funnier because at McKendree, I used to be in the gym as a freshman, setting up the net at
yeah,
5:30 in the morning. So like I'd be up and ready at 5, getting out by 5:15,
yeah,
get my stuff on by 5:30 to set up the net. So it's like it's you're completely right because then it's like it also teaches you the sacrifice and like you're saying is like like sometimes it would be the greatest party night of the world in the whole state of Illinois, but we're in Indiana playing Ball State. It's like it's not even just that, but it's like the sacrifices of like you're completely right in the fact of like you don't even know, like let's say you're a sophomore or a junior, right? And you're like, oh well, I can just start putting in the bare minimum because of my age. Then some freshman who's been hungry and starving for it comes in and kicks your butt out the door.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's always somebody biting at the bit, and it's just like people think they can come waltz into a program and with these natural
Mm,
gifts. And I've seen some of the best players in our year, in years above us, get beat out by someone who doesn't have nearly the same set of natural gifts, but just purely outworked them. Like,
totally.
it's crazy. It's insane to see.
I know. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great lesson, I think, to like get across to players too, because it's like this kind of like edges into the next thing I wanted to ask you, but it's also the thing of like, especially with Instagram and like no easy buckets and stuff like that, people are only seeing like the greatest blocks of the week, the greatest hits of the week, but they don't realize like that is 0.001% of the entire experience. You know what I mean? Like that's 1 point in a 100-point game. But it's like everyone's trying to be Showtime thinking it's gonna like just happen for them miraculously, but it's like, dude, it's if you don't put it in behind closed doors where no one's seeing it, then it's going to be a seriously rough road.
Yeah. So that was one thing, like expectations, definitely of like what you see other people do and like what you can do are just like really tough.
Mhm.
Our BYU coach, Sean, told us to never watch power volleyball and don't watch the highlights of people bouncing 1 foot line and blocking 1 foot line because that's just like setting unrealistic expectations like for the game you're about to play. And he's like,
Mhm.
I would rather have you guys watch high school games and like break down stuff, like watch full games, don't just watch highlights. Was like one of the big things for
Mhm.
us because it just gives you unrealistic expectations. You walk in and try to get a power volleyball bounce and you get
Yeah.
housed 1 foot line. Like it was kind of funny to see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
completely true.
Mhm.
And I think because I'm in the high school realm now with like coaching at San Marcos, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It's like the and especially I've seen it like we see it with basketball in the world today too. Of like ever since Steph Curry, like 5-year-olds are chucking it from half court, and now that's kind of coming into volleyball of like
Yeah.
if you don't bounce it, then it really didn't count.
It
You know,
doesn't
but
count.
it's like, dude, you like it's the disciplined shots that win games, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
simple as that.
It's like I remember I came in to this program and somebody made a comment. They're like, "We've just never seen you swing down. Like we didn't know you could bounce the ball." And I
Yeah.
was like, "That's funny because I was just shooting for the back corners. That's what
Yep.
I've been doing ever since club. Like that's what I've been taught is like
Mhm.
stick to what you're good at and don't try to get too flashy. Like it's not gonna pay off in the same way as staying consistent in like making those smart shots." And I think that
Completely.
was just one of the funniest things I've ever heard was like, "Oh, we didn't know you could hit 10-foot line because we only
Yeah.
see you try to hit deep corners and like hit these weird hard angle shots that I like to hit." So I'm like, it was
Yeah.
funny to hear that.
Yeah. That is pretty good. And I've noticed I realized it too. I was like, if you look at my highlights, your highlights, anyone from our class's highlights, it's like 50 videos of deep hard corner shots, but anyone highlights today is about 3 bounce balls. And that's
Three
it.
bounce balls and I feel like it was so funny watching. Like I watched back our highlights, yeah, some month in the back, and I was like, wow, like this does not compare to like the kids now who are just putting themselves hitting 5 foot line and like exactly what you said. Like our tapes were us hitting like 30 balls to the deep corner, and then to like start off the video,
Mhm.
it's us hitting a ball probably like 10-foot line to get the attention of people. So they're like, oh, we know he can do this, but like
Yeah.
now we see he can bounce and he can hit deep corners. Like that's funny.
Mhm. Yeah. That's awesome. That's like a whole tangent we can go down for hours, but so you went to coming out of high school club ish, you went straight to BYU.
Yep.
So what would you say are some of like kind of the key factors that go into like picking a college for you?
Some key factors. Well, I'm here now at GCU. I had to transfer. So
Yeah.
something definitely didn't go right in the process. And like
Hmm.
I've had time to reflect on that and like kind of coming to that reflection, like picking another school, it was completely revitalized, like knowing what I knew coming out of high school. So like
Mm.
coming out of high school, you know, you're eager to go to the best, biggest program. Like
Yep.
I saw BYU was returning all their seniors and I was like, hey, we're gonna go win a national championship. Like
Hmm.
that's what attracted me to that. I was like, I'm gonna go get an education and I'm gonna go win a national championship.
Yeah.
Like that's the dream of every club volleyball player.
Yeah.
And it was just like once I got there, it was just so much bigger than that I realized of like kind of noticing I didn't take my time in my decision.
Mm.
Like I was so blinded by the big flashing billboard of national championship that I didn't consider in social factors, religious factors, team
Hmm.
factors. Like when you come in as a 17-year-old freshman and there's a 25-year-old in your position and four All-American, first team All-Americans from different countries, it's just like so hard to see. You just get buried.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of knowing that, it was just hard to see, especially like these top programs, they pull in the best recruits every single year because they have that big
Mm.
flashing light of we're going to win a national championship. Like, we're going to take you to
Yep.
the tournament. We're going to give you an experience. And like what I
Hmm.
kind of learned is it's not all about that experience. Like, especially when you're on the bench, like it's cool to see your team succeed, but like it's hard to be in that position. It's mentally taxing
Hmm.
on you, it's physically taxing on you that you just like kind of get buried in a ditch. So when I transferred,
Yeah.
it kind of like came as like, where can I make an impact? Where am I going to be happiest? Like, I couldn't deal with the weather out in Utah. I like Arizona weather way better.
Hmm.
Like, team aspect, I really kind of like, I talked to everybody on the team. And like, one big thing that I heard out of high school was talk to the best player on the team and talk to the worst player on the team. Like, it's hard to talk
Hmm.
to the worst player. Like, talk to one of the bench guys. Like, you want to get different perspectives of how everyone's feeling. Because if you're going to go talk to the best guy and only the best guy, you're going to get his experience. Like, and not all
Hmm.
of us are bred out of Italy playing 3 years of professional volleyball before we come into college, like
Yeah.
some of the best players are.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. So I definitely think
For
like
sure.
biggest piece of the picture is like take your time, like really analyze what you're getting
Hmm.
yourself into, and like break down costs and break down all the scholarship opportunities and like don't just rush into something because it's like a big program like national championship. Like, yeah, take your time, analyze, and just like really ask if it's right for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like I've probably never agreed more with anything else because that is like because I had the same experience too where it was like it was UCSD or McKendree, right? But then it was like some things happened and then it's what you're saying, like the emotions of like I just want to go somewhere, everyone else is going somewhere. But it's like that is the most true thing I've ever heard about the recruiting process is like if you can tell one kid about the recruiting process, it's like slow down, take a breath. You know what I mean? Like especially with Instagram, like you see your friends going all these different places. But I think that this is something else that I wanted to instill in players too is like what you see on Instagram, but also what you get on your tours
Yeah.
is 1% of the actual college experience. You get to
Yeah.
see the best, nicest, most modern parts of the school, the team, the practice, and then you go home. But then you go there and it's class and it's school and it's nightlife and it's weather, right?
Yeah.
So
Like
yeah,
kind of when you go to a school, I learned this the hard way, but like they're going to try to paint the perfect picture for you. Like
for sure.
everyone's going to be on one court. There's going to be a team meal cuz you're probably going to go on a game day. Like everyone's going to be
Hmm.
together and they're going to take you somewhere fun at night and like all
Yeah.
this. They don't show you your real lives. Like I got into BYU
Yes.
and it was oh yeah, yeah, like you're the redshirt freshman. You go on the other court where the blinds are closed, and we'll come check in on you every 2 hours. And it would end up being like once a week they'd look across the curtain and be like, "Oh, cool, like you guys are doing serve and pass." Like that was nothing what
Yeah,
I experienced on my official visit. So yeah,
for
on a
sure.
just like slow
And I
down.
think, yeah, totally, totally, completely slow down. And I think, um, I was gonna say something else about that, but like, it's just the whole thing of like understanding that like the whole transition from high school to college is this big shiny thing, right?
Yeah.
Families love it, whatever it might be, like it's huge, right? Especially if you're an athlete.
Mhm.
But it's like you might make the wrong choice, and that's completely fine. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to throw this like dart at a massive dartboard with how many colleges are out there. Like aiming for the perfect school is almost impossible, right? So it's like you might pick the wrong school, right? Like we are both evidence of that. But it's like it's how you come back from it, but it's also like leading up to it, understand, hey, like slow down and understand like when you go on your visit, ask to see where you're living. Like on my visit, I saw the nicest dorms in the whole campus, right? But then I saw everything else when I got there. I was like, oh, this is not as nice.
Mhm.
So it's like also it's being conscious when you go on the visits of like show me the real stuff, show me a classroom, show me where I'm going to eat, right? They want to show you the practice and the like get you pictures in the gear, right? Especially with like big places like that, it's so easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, like get down to the nitty gritty, ask them, hey, can I see a classroom, can I see where I'm going to be eating, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all of
No,
that stuff of like the actual day-to-day stuff.
I fully agree with that. It's like I went and
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, these are the dorms, and it's 4 rooms with a kitchen in the middle and a living room. I get there and I'm 6 inches away from another person, and I have a sink in my room and a communal bathroom, and I can't cook. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this sucks. And they take me up to the dining hall, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a Chick-fil-A and there's a Subway, and I have
Yeah.
these like imaginary dining dollars that I just get to blow all my money on. I'm like, it just sucks. I was like, I don't have a kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
like with a whole different perception of what I was really getting myself into. So yeah,
Totally. that
that's
that is so funny.
yeah,
That's like the best advice though, is like understand what you're truly getting into. Like look behind, like see all the like, stuff tucked under the curtain. And then also it's like just like slow down. If you have to make your decision on the final day, then like make your decision on the final. There is like
yeah,
zero rush. If you have to take a year off and choose the right place, like
mhm,
don't rush
yeah. No,
for
that was
sure.
just it. I was like, saw everyone signing their NIL. I didn't even get to do the NIL signing process, which was like what I was trying to like base my deadline off of, which was stupid. So I
Hmm.
rushed into something and then still didn't get cleared before NIL. So I was like, yeah,
And this was for BYU or this was GCU?
for BYU. Like out of high school.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Because especially
Oh, right,
I
right,
was
right, right,
older
right.
in the grade too. Like all my friends and like people on other teams have already committed everywhere. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I was almost one of the last people in my class, even though I was in the younger
Hmm.
age division, to like actually go somewhere and like commit to somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. But
Mhm.
we're also not painting the college picture as anything. Like there is tremendous good sides too. Like it's not like you have a great chance of picking a great school, but it's
Yeah.
like make sure it's a great school. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like make sure it's right for you
Being
completely.
an athlete is amazing. Like you get
Yeah.
so many more like I don't get how some normal students do it. Like, as an athlete, like you get tutors, you get food, you get separate study spaces, like you're
Yep.
talked about on campus. Like it's a cool thing. People recognize you and people come out to your games and people support. Like it's a cool feeling to have. Like I don't want to paint this picture that college sucks and you're not going to find the right
Yeah.
college, but like, it's a cool experience. I like it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an incredible experience. I think like we're not casting any doubt into people of like maybe reconsider going to college. It's like completely go. Like if you have an offer to go to a D3 NAI or D1, whatever it might be, like go. It's probably going to be like the greatest experience of
Yeah.
your life so far. But it's like understand what your values are when it comes to making that decision. Like if there's more boxes ticked off for a D3 than a D1, then it's
Yeah.
like do you want the status and notoriety, or is it like somewhere you actually will truly enjoy going to? It's
Yeah.
just, we're saying understand, like, hey, there's no rush. Like the worst pressure you can put on yourself is comparing yourself to other people who've already committed, and you
Yeah.
haven't, like what you're
That's
saying. Like
that's
it's
completely.
that's the most brutal point.
It's like never.
Yeah, completely.
I agree with that. It's like do what's gonna check off the boxes, and like I feel like that might be a
Mm.
pride thing of like, hey, he's going to BYU, he's going to McKendree, he's going to USC, and like I'm going to Missouri Southern. Like you're still gonna
Yeah.
have a great experience, and like
Oh yeah.
I see people give up in education and so many other things to like go play volleyball, and then they're
Mm.
like not happy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like if you would have just slowed down, made the right decision, like and gone D3 instead of D1, like you would have been so much more happy. But like,
Completely.
yeah, I don't get it. I think it's just pride, honestly. You kind of just got to swallow your
Hmm.
pride, and I mean, you're gonna have pretty much the same experience at a D3 as you would
For
like,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's huge, because it's just like it's what's going to make you happy, right? It's not like the status of committing the fastest only lasts you until the second person commits, so it's like it's looking at the long term, right? But it's like if you have the opportunity to go play college sports anywhere, like go it, like no hesitation, go. Like, because then it's also the thing, like, hey, you can switch, there's no
yeah,
effort, there's no like stigma around like switching, you're still going, right? Like how you're doing, it's like, hey, switch to a better school, love it more, everyone's like, cool, you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's
Like,
like if you can make that decision right for you off the jump, then it's better.
yeah,
But
I
it's
cared
whatever.
way too much about like what people thought, and like my
Mm,
decision like, when I left BYU was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna talk about me, like people are gonna circulate, and I did have that. People were talking behind my back of like, why would he give up this and why would he give up that? Like not knowing the whole thing. Like my probably
yeah.
biggest piece of advice is like, do it for yourself. Don't do it for others. Like if you're happy, you're happy. It shouldn't like concern others how you feel. Like you are in control of your own feelings. And if something is going to make you happy, like go do it. I wasn't happy at BYU.
Mm,
I sent a text and I'm in the portal and I'm 100 times happier now. Like I'm in a
yeah.
situation, my eyes just like opened when I got here of just like what I've been missing out on, and was just in like that pit at BYU of like, what are people going to think about me when I switch, and like all that. Like people are going to be happy for you if you're
Mm,
happy. People aren't going to go undermine you because you made a decision to go be happy. Like people are going to be happy. All my
mm,
teammates at BYU were like, we're so happy that you found like what's right for you. They're not like, we hate you because you left. And the same with my parents. They're like,
yeah.
no, we're so happy for you that you're happy. Like you just dig this whole mental
Totally.
ditch thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing for sure. Well, so if you could go back and like shake your younger self and be like, don't do this or do that, right? What would you say to like your younger self, of like being maybe younger self, let's say starting club, but then also your younger self who's in the recruiting process? What would you say to the two mini Jacks right there?
Yeah. I mean, starting club, I feel I came in, I was on one of the older teams. Like I was young in my grade, and I
Hmm.
was like, so adamant on staying with in my comfort zone when I started club. Like, I'm gonna stay with this team.
Mm,
I'm gonna stay with this older team because like I know everyone. I know my spot on this team. Like I was a serving sub and I was comfortable with that.
mm,
And it kind of just like
mm,
hit me one day. I wish it hit me sooner. Was like, I need to stay back a year. And Jed talked to me and was like, you stay back a year, I think you're gonna have a lot better of a shot. And I was like, okay. Like I stayed back a year and ended up getting to go to a great college and having an array of colleges, and it would not have happened if I stayed in my comfort zone on that upper team. But like I wish I would have done it earlier, because that just would have
mm,
like kind of messed my chemistry, even though I felt like we have great chemistry. Like I feel like that would have messed my chemistry and I would have got kind of better down there and more developed down there, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
then coming out of recruiting, definitely like what we've been talking about is like slow down and make a decision for yourself. I feel like the decision I was making was like really heavily biased on other people's opinions. And like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, people are going to think I'm so good because I'm going to a national championship caliber school. Like, people
Yeah.
are going to be talking about me and I'm going to have all this circulation. And, I looked at Volleybox and they're like, oh my gosh, well, he's going here and people are freaking out. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like, if I could go back and do it
Yeah.
again, I would tell to like think for myself. Don't think about where other people are like putting the pressure on you, parents, friends, everything. Like, they don't know what's going to make you happy. Only you know what is going to make you happy. And like, if you don't make that decision for yourself, like, that's your fault. And it was my fault that I let other people
Mm-hmm.
influence my mind and my thoughts to make this decision instead of this like whole thing about making it for myself and deciding where I was going to be happy and all this. It was like one big cover on my head of just like how cool it's going to be when this happens and this happens. And then
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the bench for 2 years. Like, it just didn't,
Yeah.
it didn't work out how it did in my mind and how other people thought it was
For
going to work.
sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir, man. I like our experience is so similar, and like it's amazing. I know like tons of athletes probably have the exact same situation, which is great. So, all right, well, so we're gonna wrap it up. A final question for you, and then we'll catch up a little bit more after we finish this. But this has been amazing so far. I think there's so many great lessons in this of like what so many athletes are going through, but I think it's also just the human experience of like the day you can detach from thinking about what you think others are thinking about you is the day it's like true freedom. Like I'm still working through it myself today of like it doesn't stop in volleyball. Like it's a human thing to always be concerned with your like your position in the social world, you know? So it's like once you can disconnect from that fully as much as you can, that is like you're getting closer and closer to just like basically freedom, right? Because then you can enjoy wherever you're at, like how you're doing, which is amazing. So last question, what would you say at this point in your career, what would you say volleyball has meant to you? And what would you say to a young, like struggling athlete? Like maybe they're not getting the playing time they feel like they deserve, right? They're bottom of the bench, haven't played in a couple weeks, or like things are just not going well. What would you say to an athlete like that and the how volleyball's meant to you?
Yeah. I mean, volleyball since I've been young has been kind of like an escape for me. Like, it's just
Mm,
being detached from everything. Like, there was stuff going on at home. There's stuff going on in my personal life. Like, I could really just let that all go and be with my second family, like for 2 hours
mm,
a day. And like, that meant everything to me when I was younger. Like,
yeah.
volleyball has been an escape to me mentally. And you get to compete and you get to have fun and you get to have like people who really, really care about you and that like really well. So, I mean, volleyball has meant kind of like the world to me. It's been my life for the past, 14 years since I started playing. And it's just like something I'm
Mm,
so eager to do and, just like be around in that atmosphere and have a second family and, hang out with people on the team and do all that stuff. So definitely like
mm,
it's meant a lot to me in my whole experience playing. And I hope it continues to go and I play pro and the same situation. And then for like
for
the
sure.
people on the bottom of the bench, like that used to be me. When I started, I would go in on the games we were blowing a team out. And, you
Mm,
know, I would come in as a serving sub and go play defense and sometimes and go play
yeah.
outside. Like, it's hard. It's really easy to quit. It's really hard to like keep going. And those people who quit, like, that sucks. Like, they could have had something, and if they worked hard, they could be somewhere, but they just take the easy route out and quit. They're comfortable with not
Mm,
being the best or not wanting to do this. Like, they're just doing it to do it. So, I mean, like, if you're a bottom of the bench guy and you know you have passion, like work for it and it's going to pay off. And even if that means you have to go down to a twos team, you have to go down to a younger team, like do it because that's going to get you better. And you're the only one who can really like
Mm.
control what you do. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my message.
That's awesome. I was in the exact same spot too, man. Like when I first came into Wave, I was pitched on the whole thing of, hey, you're gonna be a starter, you're gonna be the guy. And then a month in, right, I'm quite literally bottom of the bench, the last person in the huddle. Like I'm getting tangled up in the net because I'm so deep in the bench, you know. But then it's like it's how you react to those situations. So
Exactly.
that is completely true.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jack. I appreciate you coming on. This has been amazing. I know this is going to help so many athletes that listen to this and watch this. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And best of luck to everyone out there who's watching this or listening to it. You guys can do great things.
For sure, man. Awesome. Well, so if you guys have any questions, whoever listen to this, you can DM me at Athlete Growth Coach on Instagram. Check out some more of my content there. But yeah, so see you guys on the next one. And thanks again, Jack. Appreciate it.